Have you ever cried over something that other people seem to brush off? Maybe someone said something that stayed in your mind for hours. Maybe a movie scene hit you harder than you expected. Maybe you got overwhelmed in a crowded place, went quiet, and later wondered why everything seemed to affect you so deeply. And perhaps you've heard the same advice your whole life. Stop being so sensitive. Don't take everything personally. You cry too easily. Just toughen up. After hearing it enough times, you may have started believing that something was wrong with you. But what if it isn't? What if your tears aren't a sign that you're weak? What if they are simply one part of the way your brain and nervous system respond to the world? Psychology has a concept that may help explain this: sensory processing sensitivity, often associated with what people commonly call a highly sensitive person, or HSP. And no, that doesn't mean you're fragile. It means you may process certain experiences more deeply than average. Think of your brain like a camera. Some people naturally move through the world without spending much attention on every little detail. They notice what matters, deal with it, and move on. But some people seem to pick up more of the emotional and sensory information around them. The tone in someone's voice, the expression on their face, a change in the atmosphere of a room, a small comment that everyone else forgot 5 minutes later. You might notice it. You might think about it. And sometimes, you might feel it much more deeply. That's where things get interesting, because being highly sensitive isn't simply about crying more. It's about how deeply you process experiences. First, you may notice more than you realize. Imagine you're sitting in a room with several people. One person is talking, someone else is laughing, a fan is humming in the background, your phone is vibrating, and you suddenly notice that one person across the room doesn't seem okay. Nobody said anything, but you noticed their expression changed. Maybe their voice sounded slightly different. Maybe they became quieter. For some people, that information disappears into the background. But for a more sensitive person, those tiny signals may grab attention. This can be exhausting, because when your brain keeps noticing details, there can be more information to process. And when too much happens at once, you may become overwhelmed. That's why you might suddenly want silence. You might need to be alone for a while. You might feel emotionally drained after a busy day, even if nothing bad happened. That doesn't automatically mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes your system simply needs time to recover from stimulation. Second, you may experience other people's emotions more intensely. Have you ever seen someone crying and suddenly felt tears building in your own eyes? Or walked into a room where two people were arguing and immediately felt uncomfortable? You may not even know what happened, but somehow you can feel that something is wrong. That's because humans are naturally social and emotionally responsive. We constantly read facial expressions, voices, body language, and social cues. But some people are especially responsive to these emotional signals. So when someone you care about is hurting, you may not simply understand that they're sad. You may spend the entire evening thinking about them. You may replay their words. You may wonder what you could have said differently. And this is one reason sensitive people sometimes get told that they overthink everything. But here's the important distinction. Sensitivity and overthinking aren't exactly the same thing. Sensitivity is about how strongly you respond to information. Overthinking is what can happen when your mind keeps analyzing that information long after the moment is over. And sometimes, one can feed the other. You notice more. You feel more. Then your brain keeps trying to understand what you felt. And suddenly, a 5-minute conversation has become a 2-hour investigation inside your head. Third, you may need more time to process emotional experiences. Maybe you've had this experience. Someone says something unexpected. Everyone else immediately responds. But you don't know what to say. You go quiet. Later, when you're alone, the perfect response suddenly appears in your mind. And you think, why didn't I say that earlier? Because your brain may need time to process what happened.
You aren't necessarily slow. You may simply be processing the experience more deeply before responding.
You're not only hearing the words, you may also be thinking about the person's intention, the context, your history with them, how your response might affect them, and what could happen next. That's a lot of information, and sometimes the result is hesitation. Sometimes it's reflection. Sometimes it's tears. But why do tears happen so easily? Here's something important. Crying isn't only about sadness. People cry when they're hurt, overwhelmed, frustrated, relieved, touched, angry, exhausted, or deeply moved. Tears can accompany strong emotional arousal in many different situations. So when you cry, it doesn't automatically mean you're emotionally weak. Sometimes your body is simply responding to an emotional load that has become too intense to hold inside. Think about a glass of water. One drop doesn't matter. Another drop doesn't matter. Then another. And another. You keep going. You tell yourself you're fine. You continue working. You answer messages. You smile. You get through the day. But eventually, one tiny thing happens. Someone asks, "Are you okay?" And suddenly, you cry. And you wonder, why am I crying over that? Maybe you're not crying only because of that one thing. Maybe that was simply the final drop. The emotion was already there. And this is where sensitive people often make a painful mistake. They judge themselves for having feelings. They think, why can't I be normal? Why does everything affect me? Why can't I just let things go? But sensitivity isn't automatically a weakness. In the right environment, it can come with real strengths. You may notice things other people overlook. You may be deeply empathetic. You may appreciate music, art, nature, stories, and small moments intensely. You may think carefully before making decisions. You may be highly aware of how your actions affect other people. And you may form incredibly meaningful connections with the people you trust. But there's another side. The same sensitivity that helps you notice beauty can also make harsh environments feel harsher. Constant noise, conflict, criticism, unpredictability, too much social interaction, too little rest. All of these can become overwhelming when your system doesn't get enough time to recover. It's a little like having a very sensitive microphone. A sensitive microphone can pick up subtle sounds that other microphones miss. That's useful. But if you turn the volume up too high, even ordinary noise can become uncomfortable. The answer isn't necessarily to destroy the microphone. It's to learn how to control the volume. And that's the part many sensitive people never learn. They spend years trying to become less sensitive.
But maybe what they really need is to become better at protecting their sensitivity.
That might mean setting boundaries, taking breaks, spending time alone without feeling guilty, being selective about who gets access to your emotional energy, learning when to leave an overwhelming environment, and most importantly, stopping the habit of insulting yourself every time you have a strong emotional response. Because there's a huge difference between saying, "I feel this strongly, so something must be wrong with me," and saying, "I feel this strongly. What do I need right now?" The second question changes everything, because your emotions are information. They aren't always instructions. You don't have to obey every feeling, but you also don't have to hate yourself for having one. And maybe that's the real lesson behind crying easily. The goal isn't to become someone who never cries. The goal is to understand why you're crying. Are you hurt? Overwhelmed? Exhausted? Lonely? Frustrated? Relieved? Or have you simply been holding everything together for too long? Once you understand the emotion, you can decide what to do with it. So the next time someone tells you, "You're too sensitive," you don't have to immediately believe them. Maybe you're sensitive. Maybe you process certain experiences deeply. Maybe you notice emotional details that other people overlook. That doesn't make you better than everyone else. And it doesn't make you weaker either. It simply means your experience of the world may be different. So don't spend your entire life trying to become a person who feels nothing. Learn your limits, Protect your peace, build healthy boundaries, and give yourself permission to feel without turning every emotion into a reason to criticize yourself. Because sometimes the person who cries easily isn't the person who is falling apart. Sometimes they're the person who has been carrying too much for too long and finally found a safe enough moment to let some of it out. And if you've ever been that person, remember this: your tears don't automatically mean you're weak. Sometimes they're simply your body's way of saying, "This mattered to me." And if you want to understand another interesting side of sensitive personalities, there's something else you may have noticed. You might be someone who watches everything online, but rarely posts anything yourself. You scroll, you observe, you disappear. And psychology has some fascinating explanations for why certain people prefer to stay invisible online. If that sounds like you, watch the next video, because your silence on social media may be telling a much deeper story than you think.